Hey, I'm Deidre Detterman, host of the Do It My Way podcast, where we empower women business owners and CEOs to do business on their terms with no regrets, hesitation, or fear. I'm obsessed with all things marketing. I started my career in television, and I remember sitting in countless meetings, listening to executives talk about things that needed to change, but they never did. I was always thinking, what if we did it my way? Once I became an entrepreneur and I started living life on my terms, working the hours I want to work, making the money I want to make, I started to feel success. I was finally in control of my destiny. I hope you will join me on this journey discovering how you can do it your way. You're going to love my next guest, Courtney Driskell of Driskell Law. She was a single mom that worked her way through law school and now has $1 million law firm. She is an inspiration. You're going to love it. Courtney, welcome to the Do It My Way podcast. We are so happy you're here.
Thank you for allowing me to be here and inviting me. I'm honored. I watched and listened to the podcast, so it's an honor to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad. And you look so darling. This is just so cute on you. I love the pink and just all of that. So,
thank you.
Well, this podcast is a lot about personal branding. So we talk about women creating personal brands, empowering other women. And one of the best ways to start a personal brand is to help the person you once were. And there's no better person with that story than you. So I would love for you just at first, let's just share where you were at when you very first started to get into law and decide to become an attorney and help people.
Absolutely. So I had a very non-traditional path. I didn't go straight from college to law school. My parents had encouraged me to go to law school, and I said, absolutely not. That's the one job I would never want to do. To me, I seemed like it felt like my personality was the opposite of what a lawyer was. You can think of them as being cold and callous, and I thought that's not what I want. I want a career where I'm helping people, nurturing people. And what ended up happening was I had a son and was going through a divorce, and all of a sudden I went from thinking I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom to realizing I've got to support myself and this child. I didn't have even an associate's degree at that time. So he was born immediately, working full time, went back, got my associates, got my bachelor's. During that time, I was volunteering for CASA, which is Court Appointed Special Advocates for Children. So they're helping children that are going through the legal system. And that was where I realized I had a passion for the law and for helping kids and families in particular. And so during going to get my bachelor's degree during this time, started taking some pre-law classes, took the LSAT, applied to law school, went through law school, got through the bar exam, and now I'm here with my own firm.
I mean, I can't imagine being a single mom and going to school, let alone getting your, undergrad, going to law school, working full time. Like when did you sleep?
Well, I would schedule 2 to 3 hours every night, because what I had to do, they tell you that you can't work during law school because of the, how difficult the course load is, but I didn't have a choice. I wasn't getting child support. I had a child to support. And so what I would do is I'd go to school all day because I took extra classes to graduate early because I need a good income to provide for my son. And so I would take extra classes. I'd work during the day. And then at night, I would come home. And from about 11 p.m. at night to 4 or 5 in the morning, I would teach English to children in China. So I would schedule a time between midnight and 2, 3. That's when I would sleep. And then I would do it all again. And looking back now, I don't know how I did it, but I'm glad I did.
Insane. I mean, how many people have that work ethic to do that? That really is super impressive. And I know you probably knew it was short term, right? There's no way you could sustain that forever.
Absolutely.
But talk about a woman on a mission. You have a son you're trying to take care of and teach English at night. I mean, anyone can do that. That's a great thing to be resourceful and say, hey, I'm going to do this for this short amount of time and get through. But then you have to study. Like, when do you study?
Yes. Any moment that I could. My son, I remember him getting to the point that when I would pull out my law books, he would cry and be like, Mom, please stop studying. And I would just promise him, baby, on the other side of this, it's going to be worth it. So that's been one of the most amazing things is now he's 11. He was a newborn baby, toddler during that stage. And now that he's older, I'm like, hey, do you remember that? I'll still bring out pictures. Remember this? Remember when we were sitting there studying together and you were so tired? And now he's seen what that's built. So he's the one that gave me, what I needed to get through that time. But I love that he's still here with me now as an older child, and he can see the benefits we're reaping from that hard work.
Well, wait till he's 18, till he's 20, and those lessons are going to take him through his life.
Yes,
so
that's the idea.
That is incredible. So take me back to the time when you were working for the state, because I know there has to be so many heart-wrenching stories. And I don't know how you went from How do you like emotionally disconnect from that, where you say, okay, I can't take all these children home with me, even though I want to?
Yes. I'm probably not the best person to ask because I haven't figured that out quite yet. I do struggle with finding boundaries. Like, how do I leave my work at home and not bring it, how do I leave my work at the office and not bring it home? I still wake up every single night thinking about cases. What else could I do? How can I be helping this client? But when we did the branding video with you guys, that was one of the things that the clients, one of our clients said in the testimonial was, I wake up in the middle of the night and I know I don't have to be worried about my case because Courtney somewhere is awake worried about it for me. So I don't know.
Blessing and a curse.
Exactly. Yes, that's very well put.
But your heart's into it, and you can tell. And from the very first time I met you and we sat down and started talking about your business, I knew you just had the biggest heart.
Thank you.
And when you're going through a time like that, I thankfully haven't been through a divorce, but I have divorced parents, and it can be the most devastating time in your life. Sure. And then when there's children involved and custody battles and all of that, you are such a great example for them to look at and say, I actually do understand.
Yes.
I've been there, done that, and this is what I'm going to do to help you, which is incredible.
Absolutely. And I think that really sets me apart as an attorney. I mean, there are other attorneys out there that have been through divorce and custody battles, but I did it before I went to law school, before I even had the dream of becoming an attorney. Mm-hmm. I remember how scary that was. You don't know what's coming up next in the process. You're scared to even go to court. Mm-hmm. Now on this side of it, as attorneys, we're in court all the time, so we don't think much about it. But I always, when I'm talking to a client, I think about how I felt in their position when you hadn't been to court before, and it's scary. And, just remembering I need to break it down to the basics because that's what I would have wanted someone to do for me.
Did you have like an aha moment or something where you're like, this is what I'm meant to do. This is what I'm called to do in life. Something that was kind of that turning point?
Yeah. So when I was still getting my undergrad degree, and, you were mentioning I worked at the DA's office in crimes against children. One of the things that I would do to keep me going, because it was very difficult, was I would look up cases and I would see what was going on in the cases. Because at that time I was just an intern. I'm getting my bachelor's degree. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a legal extern. And I would look up cases, and that would give me, it would light that fire that I needed, because I knew this is what I'm meant to do. I am meant to help, children or families that are going through these situations. They need me. And I don't say that in a, I don't say that in obviously there are other attorneys out there that can step in and help with those situations too, but I knew there was something in me that was uniquely qualified to help them walk those situations out. And I thought, I can't be selfish. I can't give up, because there's something in me that's going to help, people going through those situations one day.
And when you figure that out, a job doesn't feel like a job.
Exactly.
You get up because you work hard,
yes.
Girl. You work some hours, you work hard. We try to get hold of you. We're like, she's busy.
Yes.
But, when you can wake up every day and go, you know what, this is what I'm meant to do. I'm helping someone on the other side. It doesn't matter if it's maybe I didn't want to get up today. I felt a little tired because there's someone out there that needs me.
Yes.
And then it doesn't feel like a job. You feel like you're just, you're doing something with a bigger purpose.
Absolutely. Well, I tell my family all the time, anybody that will listen, that if I ever won the lottery, I would keep doing this. And I feel like that's how you're living out your calling. If you don't just do it for the money, if you would keep doing it, even if you weren't getting paid to do it, that's how you found your purpose in life.
That's great. Great advice. So what's a day in the life like for you? Like, if what time do you get up? Do you have a morning routine? Kind of walk us through your day.
So I'm up all night, throughout the night. It drives my fiance crazy because I'm just up on my phone. I'll start thinking about a case I need to look into, or did I get an email back on that? So there's really not a set time I will wake up. I make sure to get out of bed and start the process by 5:30 in the morning. I get my son ready for school. I'm usually answering emails as I'm helping him get ready, taking care. We've got 5 dogs that we've rescued, taking care of the dogs, getting everything in order.
5 dogs? Hold up. That's
yes.
a lot.
It is a lot. My fiance says the same thing.
The dogs are, to feed my one dog and get
yes.
out the door and go for a walk seems
yes.
like a lot.
It is exhausting, but we just keep fostering them, and I swear we're not going to adopt another dog, and now we're at 5, and we're still going to get more, I'm sure. But so once we finally get out of the house, from there, it's nonstop. My team does their best to try to find downtime for me or a lunch break, but usually I'm eating at my desk, meeting with clients, throughout the day, especially now that the firm is growing. There's a lot of more CEO CEO type activities that I'm doing, networking. We have a fractional CEO and COO, so there's a lot of meetings like that going on behind the scenes. I'm in court almost every day. So then there's also that we have to fit in somewhere. I have to prep for those court appearances. So my day is it's planned down to the minute. And then what is very important to me is that I always take my son to school and pick him up. That can't always happen. Sometimes I have to pick him up a little bit later from aftercare, but that's something that was a non-negotiable for me because I do work so much. I'm working 7 days a week, 10, 12, 14 hours a day. So it's important to me that he knows that for those, what I think of as smaller but significant moments, mom's always here to pick me up. She's always here to drop me off. We're always starting our day together. Those are non-negotiables for me. So everything else, we kind of fit around that time. So I don't get to spend all day with him like I would love to, but I make sure that I'm there for those important moments. And then usually into the evening, I keep working. I close my laptop at, 10, 11 o'clock at night. But we just opened the firm. We're just, over a year with the firm. So we're right now it's in its infancy stage. So hopefully that won't be the pace forever, but that's where we're at for right now.
Well, and I understand that. I remember that grind and,
yes.
You've got to do it. And like you said, it's not a job. You want to do it.
Yes.
And I will say, I commend you for picking up your son and taking him to school because those are the memories. Now, my kids are in college. My daughter's graduated college. Son's there right now. So empty nester. And I will say the number one thing is driving your kids to and from school. You hear all the stories.
Yeah.
And, they say as they become teenagers, especially, they become a little bit more, do I tell my parents all the things? And, they're into their friends and they've got their phones or whatever. But I feel like on the way to school and home or practices, I would hear things because you're not staring at them. They're behind you, or even beside you, but you're looking at the road. And there's something about having that time where, they're with you in the car anyway and just start subtly asking questions. And I felt like I got closer to my kids during that time because you come home and then it's like, oh, they're either going to practice or they're on the phone with their friends and they're doing something. But that car time really is sacred.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
I love that you're doing that.
Thank you.
It's like that is your important time and non-negotiable.
Absolutely. Well, and I also will talk to him about what's going on with me because I don't want him to see my job as something to be resentful of. So I will include him, in conversations about what I did that day. And I will let him know he's a part of it. You allowed me to pick you up a couple hours late today. You had to go sit in aftercare, but here's what I was able to do. I went to court and I helped, a mom that hasn't seen her child in 6 months to be able to see her child today. So there's a buy-in there and I'll talk him through tough decisions I made at work. Here's where I had to do something I didn't want to do, but I did it because it was the right thing. So I try to utilize that time to set him up for success and show him we're a team in this. It's not mom's job and then mom's home life that, it all flows together. And I want him to also be able to learn from that.
That's so great. I love that. Good advice.
Thank you.
So if you had to go, well, okay, you worked at a firm and you worked for the state. So you kind of did all that. And then we have entrepreneurship and that's a whole nother level of stress. So you could be doing what you're doing at a firm.
Yes.
And you could be working 10-hour, 12-hour days and doing the same thing. What is different being an entrepreneur than traditional job?
My goodness. Now that I own my own firm, I look back at the times that I worked at a firm and I think there's just so much I didn't know. You see someone that owns a business and you're like, look at all these benefits. They get to set their own schedule and they make all this money. And now that I own my own firm, I'm like, I want to go back and apologize to every single one of them that I had that thought about and thought, how lucky are they? You just have no idea how much work goes into it until you've done it. So there are a lot of blessings and I don't want to downplay that at all. I feel so blessed and honored and I am so grateful, but it is a million times harder than I could have ever dreamed.
That is so true. What do you think's been the hardest thing?
I would say trying to find that balance because I want to serve people so badly. That's all I want in my heart is to take care of everyone from my clients to my team to my family. And you can't do it all at once. There's a lot of discussion out there about work-life balance. And what I've learned is you can do it all, but you can't do it all well at one time, right? So I've had to say, hey, son, I'm in trial this week. I'm not going to be around as much. But next week when I'm out of trial, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have some, mom, son, family date nights and we'll make up for it. So I've had to learn to kind of live with that mom guilt, but tell myself, okay, we're going to balance this later and make sure that overall there's a balance, even if from day to day there may not be.
If I look back on my career, I can see it kind of up and down. And when my career was really taking off, I felt like my family time was less, right? And then when I felt like I was really diving and pouring into my family, then work maybe. So I do think it ebbs and flows.
Yes.
And you will get to the place where you find that place in life where you're like, okay, I'm going to take Fridays off, or Saturdays are, nothing but time with my son, and whatever he wants to do, he gets to pick where we go and where we eat and what, those type things. And that quality time is way better than the quantity of it anyway.
Sure.
But you will feel ebbs and flows throughout, the time. And I think you guys have had a lot of success, which is awesome. You're going to get to the point where you're like, okay, now we can kind of, you can hire more people. The more money you make, the more money, more problems. You hear that a lot. There is a little bit of that, but you're able to empower other people.
Yes.
Yes. And, I'm excited to see you kind of grow in that way, because I think once I started appointing people to other positions that were better than me at that. Right? I mean, you feel like you want to do it all and you can do everything, but the reality is you're good in court, you're good with people, but there's probably some behind the scenes things, accounting and operations, that there might be somebody better suited for that.
Yes.
So you'll start to lean more on them, and then be able to say, okay, I'm going to do what I shine at, and that's the only thing I'm going to do, and then I'm going to let the team run the rest.
Yes, you are absolutely right. That is a lesson that I'm in the process of learning, is that there's people that can do things better than I can do them. And it's up to me to make sure that I've vetted that person, but to trust that I've brought on the right people. I have such an amazing team, and they've helped me learn that lesson, that when I delegate things to them, sometimes they do it better than I could have ever done it, and it's hard because it is your baby when you start a business, as you know, but my team has shown me that I'm not in this alone, that I have fantastic people surrounding me, that if I just let them help me, they will.
Right. So what would be your number one piece of advice for a woman out there that's thinking about going to law school or thinking about starting their own business? What advice do you have for them?
I think it would be what I said earlier, is just, accept that there's going to be some mom guilt. There's going to be some moments you're like, I'm having to study instead of spend time with my child. But just remember what I said, that it doesn't, you can have it all, but it doesn't mean you can do it all well at once, right? That there's going to be some days that you have to show up and you're more involved in the business. You're more involved with the law school. But then make sure there are days that you show up and you're more involved with the family, that you can put the books aside and focus on the family. And like I said, also bringing my son in and having that buy-in, kind of showing him, here's what's at the, here's what is at the end of this. Mm-hmm. Here's what the end result is going to look like. I feel like that bought me some credibility, because I'm having to do that again. During law school, I told him, here's what the end result is going to be. And now with the firm, I'm telling him the same thing. Remember when we had that very tough, beginning season through law school, and I told you it'd be worth it? That's where we are now. This is another hard season where we're having to buckle down and not getting to spend as much time together as we would like. But at the end of this, there's going to be something beautiful. And now he trusts me. He's like, okay, you've said it before, and I believe that, it'll happen again.
I love that. Now, do you lean on family? Do you have like a nanny or anybody that's helping you? Who's your support system around helping raise your son?
Just my fiance. So my son's father is not involved. So it was just Rhett and I for years until I met my fiance. We've been together 3 years now, and he's phenomenal. He is so helpful. He's even helped a lot with the firm. He does a lot behind the scenes that he doesn't get enough credit for. I tried to be very mindful of making sure he knows how appreciative I am. Because even in pictures you see of the team, it's all of us girls, but there's this guy behind the scenes that's doing a lot as well. He's been phenomenal. And he was the one that pushed me to start the firm. I had no interest at all in opening my own firm. I thought, I don't want to do business. I just want to take care of people. So I want to work for a firm, or I want to work for the state, where my job is just to go in, take care of people, and then, leave it at that. And he was the one that for 2 years kept saying, you need to open your own firm. You need to open your own firm. So that was such a gift, that he saw something in me that I didn't quite see yet. And he helped me bring that to fruition when I didn't even know, that was a dream of mine. And now looking back, I'm like, thank God he kept at it.
Yeah, exactly. He saw it before you saw it, which is great. Yeah. So what makes you different as an attorney? If somebody were to come to you and they were going through divorce and the worst time of their life, what makes you different?
I would say it's my compassion and my empathy. It's that I've walked this road before I was an attorney. I truly know what they're going through. And I have found, being an attorney, you have to strike a good balance. You don't want an attorney that's going to be, a cheerleader and ignore reality, but you also don't want a bulldog that's not going to be compassionate. And I found when I was a client myself on the other side, that a lot of times attorneys will they'll tend to be more of a bulldog, or they'll tend to be, softer, but there's not enough aggression in the courtroom. So it's about finding someone that strikes that balance. And that's what I think I really bring to my clients.
And it shows. It definitely
Thank you.
shows. I can see that.
Thank you.
So what's next on the horizon? If you had to say, do you have any goals or dreams out there? Or are you just still kind of on the grind with the firm? And I mean, what's next with you?
Absolutely. So setting goals is very important to me. At the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the day, the beginning of the week, I'm always looking at what are my goals? What am I going to accomplish? What's coming up next? I just can't, if I find it difficult to just relax and enjoy what's happened, I'm like, no, well, what's coming up next? What's coming up next for the new year? So our goal is to keep growing, of course, and we are going to open new offices. So that's something we're really excited about. We serve clients all over Oklahoma. I was really lucky when I opened the firm that a lot of that came from TikTok. And people that watch us on TikTok, they're all across the state. And so they'll call in and say, hey, will you come down here near Texas and take on a case? And we have been, but if we're able to open offices nearer to those locations, we can better serve the clients. So that's what's next on the horizon. That's what we're super excited about, is just continuing to grow the firm and be able to better serve people across the state.
Okay, let's talk TikTok.
Okay, yes.
And social media, because I mean, we talk to clients every day and they're just, you feel uncomfortable. You don't want to get in front of the camera.
Yes.
What am I going to look like? What am I going to say? What are people going to say about me? So what made you first just say, you know what, I'm going on TikTok? And that really helped blow your brand up.
Yes.
I think you have close to 35,000 followers and, people get great advice from you. You get clients from there. So walk through that process.
Deidre, I felt the same way. Like, I will never, it's so cringy. I spent years saying I will never get on TikTok. That's so cringy. It happened because I'm very much into fitness and bodybuilding. And so I started watching TikTok, watching other fitness people. And then I thought, well, I want to post my stuff because it's a community, in bodybuilding. And so I started doing that. Well, people found out I was an attorney, and because my name was Fit Lady Lawyer. And so they'd say, hey, I have a question for you. And so I'd answer their question. And so it really happened accidentally. It's not like I had this grand plan that I'm going to, have this TikTok that has all these followers and set up a firm. It was just me getting on there. I started doing lives because people would ask for advice in my, in the comments. And I'm like, well, you don't have much space to respond. So let's hop on the live and I'll answer your questions. And so that is really what we were founded on. Like, that's what this whole thing was born out of. And I work very hard not to lose that. So even now when we have consults, they're completely free. And we've toyed around with the idea of having them be paid. But I remember that that's how we started. We started because we were just getting on TikTok, answering people's questions. Because again, when I was a single parent, I couldn't afford an attorney. I could not have afforded a $350 consultation. And so that's what I was thinking of when I was getting on TikTok answering these questions is I want to help people that can't afford an attorney, but they need help. They're going through a custody case or they're going through a divorce case. So that's where we started, and it's blown up into this, which is amazing, and I'm so grateful, but I will never forget that that's how we started. And I'm so grateful to the TikTok audience, because even now they, we post our accomplishments and they're like, oh my gosh, I remember when you were just getting on and, talking about fitness. And so to see what it's grown into is amazing. But yeah, when we first started, we had no idea it was going to turn into this.
And what's your advice for someone? Just get on and start?
Yes, absolutely. Because I wasted so much time thinking, oh, this is cringy and I'm so embarrassed. And now I look back and I'm like, man, if I just gotten over myself, and just have fun with it. Don't take yourself too seriously. Even now when I get on and post videos, I just sit in my car and answer people's questions and give advice. And people are receptive to that. So you don't have to have the fancy videos and you don't have to do the trends and the dancing if you don't want to. I enjoy it. I love when people do that. I think it's fun. I don't do it because I feel like I come off insincere when I'm doing something like that. But that's what I mean is just find what you have something you can share with the world. There's something about you, some, story that you have that's going to help other people. Just get on there and share it.
And you're giving great advice. I think people get in their own heads where they think you're looking at them and your hair or your makeup or what you're wearing. And it's not that. It's the advice that you're giving.
Absolutely.
And you're qualified to do that. And it's another extension. Honestly, you can get on TikTok and reach thousands of people in one 15-minute live versus you can't reach thousands of people. It'd take you months to have consults with them. So it's just a great way to get in front of the masses.
Absolutely. Well, I think sometimes people think like it has to be curated perfectly. I need to have the right lighting and the right camera. And I feel like from what I've seen, people would rather have you just get
kind of the opposite.
Exactly.
It's the opposite.
Yes. Then it seems too curated and you seem insincere and inauthentic. And people love that authenticity on TikTok. So yeah, just get your phone, get on there and start sharing your story, whatever that is.
Mel Robbins is one of my favorite podcasters. I don't know if you listen to Mel, but she jumps on all the time. No makeup, got her glasses on, hair's kind of bedhead, going everywhere and in her sweats. And I'm like, that's why people love that.
Yes.
She's real.
Yes.
She feels like someone you're going to walk in. She's your neighbor. She's your friend. It's not overly curated.
Exactly.
So I think that can be to your advantage.
Absolutely.
Honestly, to do that. Okay. So let's talk fitness, Courtney, because I know fitness is a big part of my life. It's been a big part of your life. So share with me what fitness has done in your life to maybe even bring you success in your job.
Absolutely. I credit that with being the beginning of all of this, really, because what happened was my son and I, this is when I was going back to get my bachelor's. He was a toddler. I remember him crawling around. I was overweight. I hadn't lost the weight from having him. I kept making excuses. I knew I wasn't in my best health, but I'm like, well, I'm a single mom. I'm working multiple jobs. I'm going to school. I felt like that justified my physical health. But what I realized was when I applied to law school, I thought this is only going to get harder. It's going to get harder when I go to law school. It's going to get harder when I become a lawyer. I need to be in good physical health now so that I can be there for him, because I was too tired to play with him. I get home after working all day and going to school, and I was exhausted. And not to say that moms shouldn't show themselves grace in that scenario, but I knew for me to be the best for him, I have to be in good physical health. So I started doing everything differently. I started figuring out what diet works best for me. I started tracking my macros. I started going to the gym. I started by using the old Beachbody. I don't know if they're old, but Beachbody videos. Yes, because I didn't have time. I didn't have time to go to the gym. I didn't have the money. So I just had to kind of look at, okay, what do I have? What resources do I have? And I'm going to start there. And now I'm in a gym and I have a regimen, and I look forward to doing a bodybuilding contest, in the near future. But that really, not only did that help me in my physical health to be able to keep up with the pace of the schedule we have now, that really triggered my self-discipline, because I learned if I set goals and I stick to them, even if I don't feel like it. People ask me all the time, how do you keep doing it? Like, how do you keep up with this schedule? Or how do you keep going to the gym, with this schedule? I'm like, you can't wait for motivation. You can't wait to feel like it. It has to be your routine. It has to be something. And this is something I share with my son. When I tell myself I'm going to go to the gym, I gave my word to myself. I will not break my word. Your word is your bond. So that's how I see it. It's not like, oh, maybe I'll go to the gym. It's like, no, I've said I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I know he's watching, so I'm definitely not going to break my word. But yeah, that's really the core of who I am, because it's allowed me to have everything, that this has grown into. So I'm incredibly thankful for that part of my life.
What time do you go to the gym? When do you go with all your crazy schedule?
Sure. So I go in the evening. I like to go because the day is so stressful. It's my way to kind of transition mentally from all of the work stress to, okay, now I can relax and be mom, and fiance at home. So it's kind of my transition period in the evening.
That's great. I love that. And you kept it up all through law school and all through all of that.
Yes.
And then it is a habit. It's I've gotten up 5 a.m. for 25 years, and my kids, it's funny, my daughter was saying, her work friends were saying, gosh, I can't believe you get up every day, because she now is working her full-time job. She gets up every morning and works out early, and she's kind of in that same regimen. And they're like, I can't believe you do that. And she goes, my mom did it growing up, and I didn't know there was anything different.
Oh,
I thought that's what you did.
I love that.
Everybody gets up, and now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, that's not actually normal.
Right.
People, not everyone gets up at 5 a.m.
Yeah. I don't know that I could get up at 5 a.m. That may be pushing it.
And I think, it's funny. I'm definitely a morning person. I couldn't go at night. I go to the gym at night, and I feel like I'm just tired and out of it. And, so it's whenever you get your energy. But I commend you for that. And I do think when you have those disciplines in your life, it carries over to your professional life.
Yes.
You're keeping that discipline personally, and then professionally it comes out as well.
Yes. It carries over into every area of her life. You can't say, I won't just be disciplined in this area, but I'll be disciplined over here. One of my favorite sayings is, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So that's what I look for places in my life. Like, is my discipline slacking there? Okay, I need to strengthen that up. But that all started with me being, overweight and deciding, okay, I'm going to start eating better. So it's you find those small moments that you can, be more consistent and kind of step it up. And then there's an overflow out of that, or it was for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So last question is, do it my way is all about doing it your way. And so what is an example in life when you felt like you didn't follow the crowd or didn't, I think you've said several examples today, but what is a way that you say that you've done it your way?
So I would say just being a mom, a female in a male-dominated industry, I have to kind of do it my way every day. When I first graduated from law school, I ended up going into corporate law because I felt like even though I wanted to be a prosecutor, I wanted to be in the courtroom, I worried about that effect on my son because then I'm stuck in court all the time and I can't be there for him. So I initially started doing corporate law, and what I realized there was they kind of tried to, beat figuratively, your spirit out of you. They would tell me, you're too soft. You need to toughen up, and you can't put being a mom first. And I think there's this misconception that if you're a mom, if you're a woman, then you can't be as credible. You don't take things as seriously. Even wearing pink, there was a time I thought, I have to downplay my femininity because, I need to, when you think of an attorney, or when I did, I thought of, them being cold and a bulldog and having, these mahogany books, and you walk into their office like
suit,
that. Yeah, exactly. And so I fought that for a little bit. And my mom was the one that really said, Courtney, this is what sets you apart. Like, that's not, your clients aren't looking for that. Family law clients that need you, they're looking for someone like you that's going to get on their level, be like, I get where you're coming from. I care about your children also. I care about what's going to happen to you guys. And so I really learned to lean into that. And instead of looking at, what other attorneys and what other legal professionals have kind of said, this is what we should be doing, I'm like, I'm going to do it my way. And I thank you for what you've done through the podcast, because I look to you. I look to mentors like you, and I'm like, well, if they can do it, if Deidre can look pink and be fierce, then I can too.
That's right. Pink power. Let's
Absolutely.
go. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for being an inspiration to women everywhere. You truly are.
Well, thank you. Likewise, you are as well. Like I said, you're truly one of my mentors. So thank you, because you get up and do what you do every day, but you probably don't realize how many of us are watching you and are coming up, on your coattails and following your example. So thank you. And thank you for having me. It's truly an honor to be here.
You're so sweet.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Do It My Way podcast. If you're wanting to build a personal brand, but you aren't sure where to start, I want you to book a discovery call with me at deidredetterman.com. I hope you are empowered today to do business on your terms with no regrets, hesitation, or fear. Again, head over to deidredetterman.com and click on Get a Quote.